is up, Gucci Gang? Hello, Gucci Gang. My name is Zandy Boy, and so recently I bought Hiroshima by John Hersey. Literally more not to talk about. Am I right, guys? Am I right, fellas? So, maybe this novel will teach me, what to do if I get some sort of malady after eating Taco Bell chicken wings, or maybe it'll teach me not to consume Taco Bell at all. Let's start off at page 1. Finishing up at page 152. That was not about avoiding Taco Bell. Not at all. Star Wars: The Bad Batch.
I mentioned this already in my Star Wars: Clone Wars is Unbelievable video, but the show holds a special place in my heart for being one of the few unconventional children's television shows my mom let me watch when I was younger. By unconventional, I mean she would let me watch a show that contained violence and guns and things she would not let me see at an early age. My shock for allowance for me watching the series was doubled down by the fact that I couldn't view episodes of SpongeBob or Teletubbies because they would rot my brain and make me stupid. Her words, not mine. Sidetracking aside, I love the show especially for giving these identical characters the ability to stand out and possess their own unique qualities. As the show progresses, the audience gets to see these clones stray away from the built-in notion that they're merely weapons of war and develop into their own characters, become comfortable in their own skin. I always viewed it as a great comparison to the real world, where we all develop our own traits and personalities. Everyone wants to be different and leave their own mark in the world, and that's precisely what Clone Wars did. It made the audience care for a whole slew of characters who are all genetically bred the same way and tend to be identical and serve the same purpose of fighting this galaxy-wide conflict. Especially for a younger audience, I think it's really thought-provoking and helped that demographic be more comfortable to be different and to stick out from the crowd. Episodes like Orders and Rookies and Disorders are prime proof of the message they floating through attempting to inspire the audience. Clones wanted to be divergent from this program, live their own lives, and seek their own purposes. Clone Wars wasn't only great in filling in the gap in between episodes 2 and 3, but made the audience resonate with characters who have never made it onto the big screen. That being said, Clone Wars Season 7, which premiered on Disney Plus years after the series was alleged to be over, began with a whimper. The first 4 episodes introduced the Bad Batch, an elite squadron of genetically mutated clones, so that's cool in design but kind of bland and kind of generic and everything else. Each member had an individualistic trait to describe themselves, and quite frankly, the entire arc went against the morals of Clone Wars, for the characters being painstakingly dull and for being specialized in different fields of combat. Throughout the Clone Wars, we saw different members of the Republic Army try various methods of acting and appearing differently, so that they stuck out from their identical brothers. With Bad Batch, the members didn't have to employ those methods into their overall stature because they're inherently different. They all possess a singular trait to determine their distinctiveness, and the episodes suffered for that reason. It went against the morals of the Clone Wars and diverted from pretty much everything I love the series for. The arc did reintroduce the audience to flesh out characters like Anakin and Captain Rex, but they couldn't save those 4 episodes from mediocrity because of how much of a presence the Bad Batch had on screen. Those episodes did nothing for me on a pure resonating level, and it sucked. As I've always established in this video, I love the Clone Wars for its character building, and primarily, and the Bad Batch as a group didn't have much of that regretfully. Yes, we only had 4 episodes to connect with them, but characters who had much less screen time were able to provide a more captivating intrigue. I'm half joking here, half not, but Captain Vaughn in the final arc of the series was on screen for 5 minutes max, and I feel like he did a lot more for me. Maybe because he was used as a character device to lure Ahsoka into a trap late in the arc. Maybe because I'm joked about him so much in real life with my friends when his episode premiered. But seriously, I remember him more of what he did than what the Bad Batch did in the 4 episode arc, and that should be telling. Thankfully, the last arc was some of the best bits of Clone Wars content meshed into 4 awesome episodes, and it washed away my woes from the first 2/3 of the season. It didn't make the overall conclusion of the show amazing because of the mediocrity that came before the Siege of Mandalore, but at least the episodes did end on a beautiful send-off. Some parts of the arc didn't align flawlessly with the events of Episode 3, mainly because Anakin and Obi-Wan never mentioned Ahsoka at all, despite the fact they all just reunited a few hours prior contextually. But the way the animation was done, the way the fight scene and climax shots were executed, the fact we got to witness Order 66 from the clone's perspective, not just the Jedi's for once, and we got to see the inner turmoil of some of them accounted that the last episodes was exceptional. Each part of this finale never strayed too long on one element of the story. Everything got to move in a brisk pace that kept the audience engaged for the entire ride. It invigorated me as a Star Wars fan, and I could not have been more joyous to be one at that time. Two months following the finale of Clone Wars, StarWars.com revealed on July 13th that the Bad Batch was receiving their own standout TV show. When this news broke 2 years ago, I made a video listing why this idea was disappointing. So I'll link that video just in my journal grabs right now, and I hope it does a decent enough job of demonstrating why the mere concept of this show is not healthy. Additionally, I mentioned later in that video how continuing the story laid out by the Clone Wars and labeling the Bad Batch as a follow-up to the Clone Wars, despite Star Wars blatantly calling the series finale of the latter as the end of the Clone Wars story, was incredibly patronizing. It was extremely deceptive to promote Clone Wars Season 7 as the end of the Clone Wars, and not even 2 months later announced that it's basically going to be continuing. It was serenading over a lifeless corpse, attempting to cast grab its way back to resurrection by announcing the return of uninteresting characters. As you may infer, I was not all too thrilled with the announcement of the show. Now, after watching the show, I can say that it was actually kinda good. Not even by a margin either, as I already had incredibly low standards for a series following the adventures of 5 characters with low substance. I was surprisingly incredibly happy with how the Bad Batch turned out. Despite my problems with the franchise overall recently, Bad Batch stuck out to me as a legitimately high note of Star Wars recent content. It still retains some of the glaring flaws I've encountered with other recent Star Wars shows, specifically with the overhaul of cameo experiences. But several of the characters who were featured in the Bad Batch showed their purpose. For instance, Captain Rex showed up in Episode 7, and not only did he display his own character development because of his general distrust of clones who had their inhibitor chips implanted at the events of the series finale Clone Wars, but he contributed to the show's narrative progression. After being informed that the members of Bad Batch still possessed the inhibitor chips, Rex demanded that they return the downed vendor where he got the chip removed so that they did not get fixed by Order 66 themselves. It demonstrated how the events of Order 66 and his evacuation from the vendor made Rex wary of the galaxy and developed a Bad Batch of characters who did not want to be influenced by the same program that split them apart from Crosshair. For the following episode was equal in quality, as the Empire, led by Crosshair, located the Bad Batch after being led on by spies who were scouting the area. The entire confrontation between the two groups was amazing and played into the lad's necessity to flee the planet urgently incredibly well. In this episode, the Bad Batch also realized that they could sell the turn into armed smugglers and sell their vendors intel to pay off their debt with their informant Sid. This would be paid off decently well in preceding episodes, so it's kinda nice that there are threads entangling most of the story together in a neat knit package. The show does get criticized a lot online for containing numerous filler episodes that pay low narrative value. While yes, one flaw with this show is made the episodes formulaic and redundant pattern beat, I do not think it tarnishes much for the series. They help develop the characters and their dynamics, with the latter being particularly noticeable with Hunter and Omega's and Wrecker and Omega's relationships. You can clearly see in both situations that Omega blossoms a genuine friendship with both squad members, and that they both try their hardest to nurture Omega at any given moment. Most of the decisions related to Omega are chosen with their best interest in mind and to keep her as safe as they feasibly can. Continuing from my previous point, the show legitimately provided the group with prominent personalities and traits. Hunter develops into the very leader of the group who not only has to grapple with the loss of one of his group members, but also with how to protect Omega and properly nurture her, make her feel like part of the Bad Batch while keeping her as far away from trouble as possible. Crosshair is even more of a dick from the Clone Wars episodes. The show establishes that the audience should generally detest him for obeying Order 66 even without his inhibitor chip implanted. You want to see him fail and for the remaining members of the Bad Batch to succeed, and I really like the dynamic of a member of the Bad Batch leaving the Empire while the rest of the group remains steadfast to listen to their heart and not from the mouth of a puppet. It illustrates just how much of a suck-up Crosshair is and how his morals differ substantially from those of the rest of his former group. His defection from the Bad Batch reflects how each character can and should have different ethics, regardless of being strung together for the sake of completing missions. I like this sort of complexity the show suggested characters could have. Admittedly, Tech and Echo are still a bit one-note and flat in their personalities. I'm fine with Echo getting sidelined because he was added to the group later on in his deception and he was present in numerous episodes of Clone Wars. With Tech, however, it's a bit different. We still barely know what his deal is other than being really smart and underestimating the intelligence of his fellow squad members. I wish we'd get to know more about him in future content because his character could be a lot more nuanced. His personality is incredibly overt and wish there are more tidbits that are more subtle. Wrecker falls under the same category as Tech and he should still possess more characteristics, but I'm fine with his character. Wrecker proved in many scenes throughout the series that he can be a big softie for Omega, so he's alright. Just hoping in future content he gets more time to shine as well.
Well, folks, I think today we learned a very valuable lesson, and that is, don't judge a book by its cover. I thought initially that Star Wars The Bad Batch was going to be a piss poor show, but you know what, guys? I enjoyed it! I thought it was a very fun show, and I enjoyed it extremely. I am now a more open-minded person, and I'm ready to give more things a shot. Except Taco Bell chicken wings, because I'm lactose intolerant.